Alex.
All right, Manu Raju on Capitol Hill. Thanks very much. Let's break all this down with more of our legal and political experts. Thank you all for joining me this evening. Lots to get to. Elliot, I want to start with you. Give us some context here about these charges, this plea deal. You have 2 tax misdemeanors.
Right.
They're going to resolve this felony gun charge. How does this strike you?
It does not strike me as alarming at all, Alex. And think of it this way. In our federal system, about 97 or 98% of cases that actually are brought end up resulting in a plea deal. It is incredibly common for someone who is charged with a federal crime to plead guilty. With that in mind, this kind of arrangement for these types of crimes would not be that alarming. Set aside the politics, set aside the fact that it's Hunter Biden. This is a very straightforward plea deal from a prosecutorial perspective.
But when it comes to the politics, when it comes to the Republicans' reaction, we're hearing them call it a sweetheart deal, a mere traffic ticket, in the words of former President Donald Trump. How accurate is that?
Well, it's a traffic ticket that can now get you put in jail. Given that something like 2/3 or about 60% of cases that end up in supervision or probation end up having some violation in some way, he could actually end up behind bars for this. Look, someone who has, in the case of Hunter Biden, someone who has a history of substance abuse and firearm possession, who's on probation, it frankly doesn't look good for him down the road. And so the idea of throwing around these terms about slap on the wrist and probation traffic ticket, it's just not accurate.
And we did, of course, just hear the current president saying, Abby, that he is proud of his son. This is something that we've heard him say time and time again when it comes to Hunter. But going into this election cycle, how much of a liability is Hunter going to be, political liability?
Well, first of all, I mean, I think we should not be surprised that the president is standing by his son. I mean, this is his only surviving son. He's a human being. I think most people would find it strange if he threw his son under the bus for any political purpose. I think that's a given. He's going to defend Hunter. He's going to keep his only surviving son close. On the other hand, I mean, I think that there are 2 main questions. One, whatever happens on Capitol Hill, are they going to be able to establish some kind of connection between anything unethical that might have happened with Hunter and President Biden? I think we don't know that yet. However, there's really no evidence to suggest that they have that proof. And then the second thing is, do voters care whether Hunter Biden is a drug addict, or was a drug addict? Do they care whether all of these salacious pictures are floating around the internet? That part, I think there's some evidence to suggest that voters are not attaching that to President Biden. Back in 2020, those things were out there. They didn't necessarily affect him. I think right now, Biden has other problems, much bigger problems, frankly, than Hunter Biden. Inflation, the economy, his favorability at its lowest point based on our CNN poll.
And Maggie, Trump obviously seizing on this. He, amid his own gargantuan legal problems, how convenient is this timing for him?
Well, I don't know that I would use the word convenience. I mean, I do think that for Trump, given the fact that this is coming right after number one, he gave this pretty astonishing Fox News interview in which he appeared to acknowledge that he was holding on to documents despite efforts by federal government, despite a grand jury subpoena to get him to turn it over. I don't think that hurts him to have that wiped out, but it doesn't help his larger legal case. I mean, I think it gives him something to seize on, and Trump is fighting as much in the court of public opinion as he is fighting a legal case. I think you will see more of that. But, to Elliot's point, these are very different cases. And Trump is also facing charges in Manhattan. He is facing a potential indictment in Georgia, a potential second indictment from Jack Smith's office, and then 2 civil cases. So it's just not the same thing.
We're certainly going to be discussing that train wreck of an interview that the former president gave with Fox News in just a few moments. Elliot, we heard different stories from the 2 different sides of this legal coin. The Hunter Biden lawyers saying that this is basically all wrapped up, but David Weiss saying that this investigation is still ongoing. To what extent is it still ongoing?
Yeah, look, the use of that word ongoing is a little bit perplexing. Now, perhaps they might have been using boilerplate language to suggest that until he pleads guilty in court, it is an open matter, or they might still be investigating other matters. It's just hard to say. He's going to go into court. He's going to plead guilty. And as of that moment, he's going to have a misdemeanor conviction, a couple of them.
And most likely will stay out of jail.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone stay with me. Lots more to discuss.